Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. I don't even know what to say about this episode. I have no words for this episode because it feels so empty. It feels so empty because nothing really of value happens in this episode. And I have a theory about that. We all know that Days is going to be moving to Peacock September 12th. And seeing how they're bringing Stefan back, my theory is that the closer it gets to that time, that's when things are going to really start to pop off. Um, and it's going to kind of give an extra incentive to get people to subscribe to Peacock. Because this episode, I literally sat there and I'm just like, what am I even supposed to talk about in this episode? Like, what really happened? Sean and Jada became partners. Okay. Um, you got Kristen that's literally living rent free in Brady and Chloe's mind after Belle left because she didn't feel like talking about stuff with Sean. She wanted to kind of avoid it just by diving heading to work. Chloe comes over and Chloe's like, "Oh well, I haven't seen there and seen Kristen. I haven't seen her all day or all week or whatever. What's going on with her? What is she planning on doing? What kind of stuff does she got going on?" And they're both sitting there talking about her. I'm like, for a woman that both of y'all despise, the fact that y'all haven't seen her in a hot minute, y'all got a vacation from her, and yet you're still sitting there talking about this woman. It's like, are you kidding me? Of course, that only lasted very temporarily because the minute that they were getting ready to head into work, they saw Kristen. Kristen was sitting there talking to Rolf. Rolf, he made the transplant successful. And Kristen was there trying to rush on, like, hey, you need to wake him up. You got to wake him up. He's been sleeping long enough. And she's like, no. It's a process. And then Kristen started, asking him about his loyalty, like, oh, can I really trust you? This, that, and the third. I'm like, this dude has, the only thing he doesn't have is a Demera tattoo or a branding at this point on his arm or forehead or back or chest or something. Okay, he is Team Demera. He has been Team Demera since the moment that he met your dad. And you're sitting there questioning this guy's loyalty like there's no tomorrow. Like I don't understand. I really didn't get that. You brought him out of jail for a reason. You don't know what he's doing. You don't know the complications and stuff like that he has to sit there and consider when he wakes Stefan up. You're not a doctor. At one point he was like, yo, don't you got like a company to run and a plan to hatch of getting Brady back and making Chloe's life miserable? Why don't you go and do that? Why don't you go and do that? Let me rock. Let me do my thing. You go out there and you do your Kristen thing. Now, to an extent, I still feel like, why are you just now questioning his loyalty? You know? But when he heard the door, he was like, Kristen, I told you I was busy. Like, it's going to take me a while. You can't sit there and rush this. Shen came in and was like, I'm not Kristen. So I'm assuming that Shen knew about this whole deal, this whole thing for quite a while. It's Stefan being alive and everything like that for quite a while. Because Kristen was sitting there asking, how'd you keep him alive this whole time, especially while he was in jail? The stuff that he's doing costs money. Lots and lots and lots and lots of money. Okay? So unless Stefano gave him some sort of trust fund or something like that to continue his work, or he found another backer, like any sort of backer, there's no way he was able to sit there and keep Stefan alive this long. So yeah. I mean, my whole thing was like he's probably he. There's a good chance that he's probably using Shin's money to still follow, Stefano's plan and Team Stefano. He just needed a backer to do it. So he's probably lying about, he's lying about that part. But I think his loyalty is still and always will be towards Damaros. Which again begs the question, because I have so many floating theories in my head. Did Shin, was he the one that actually hired the gunman that killed Jake? But if that's the case, why bring back or why help bring back the one guy that you know? The minute he walks, he wakes up and he comes back in Gabby's life. Whatever you got going on with Gabby is done. Is a wrap. It's donezo. Um, so why would you sit there and fund a project knowing that you can lose Gabby in the process? Unless he's just using Gabby. I have no idea. And it's going to be really interesting to see, assuming that you got Peacock. I'm just going to be honest. Assuming that you got Peacock, it's going to be interesting to see. Now, at some point, Rafe came to talk to Gabby to bring her mail and everything like that, and Shen came in there. And Shen left. Rafe is just being the big brother. He's just like, what's going on with y'all two? Y'all serious? You love him or whatever? And once again, she points out, Stefan was the love of my life, and no one ever is going to sit there and compare, which is kind of a really bad attitude. I'm sorry, and so, I mean, don't get me wrong. I get that she's tried to have other people in her life. I mean, hell, even Jake. You know, in her own way, she did love Jake. And it's not to sit there and say that, if you lose someone, you got to sit there. The minute you meet somebody new, you got to sit there and kind of push them out your heart. But I can see why it's so complicated to sit there and date someone, be with somebody who you're constantly competing against, even though that they're not there anymore. You know? And some people want to call it baggage. It's not baggage, but like, how do you sit there and compete with a dead person? You can't sit there and call them names or anything like that. And you feel bad for even sitting there, I don't know, not pushing them out their heart, but being like, do you really love me, or am I just here because this person's not there? There's so many different questions. It just makes being with somebody of that magnitude so difficult. But I feel like there's a part of her. I mean, granted, there was a part of her that felt like she was only using Shen until Jake was ready to sit there and date her again. Um, Shen has known some sort of level that he's nothing more than a placeholder. And now that, Stefan is back, or he's going to be back soon, his days are numbered. They may drag this out as long as possible, but I mean, especially when people are going to be paying for Peacock at this point, they're not going to be as forgiving, compared to them watching something for free. They're not going to be as forgiving. Then you come to find out that has been sitting there stabbing her in the back for who knows how long. But I don't. Okay, so I don't understand this whole Ava moving into Damaro's place. Like, I mean, if it's just about finding a place to stay, let Gabby set you up somewhere. Let Gabby sit there and flip the bill on what other place she's gonna sit there and stay at. Why go to EJ's place? I don't understand that. And then EJ puts her in the same room that Abby got killed. And I'm like, bro, are you kidding me? Now that they're doing this whole nice thing, EJ's trying to be all polite and all like sincere and everything like that. You could just tell, like, even me being an EJ fan, I'm just like, it's so hard to sit there and listen to. It really is. Belle comes by. You have the little awkward conversation about Sean and the baby and where that's going. And, to be honest, I'm just like, well, he's not attached to, He's not attached to Janet Spears anymore. I mean, yeah, the lie was bad. Trust me, it's bad. But you want to work on their relation. She wanted to work on their relationship before. When Janet Spears was alive and the baby was still a factor. It was a part of her that wanted to work it out. Well, the baby's not a factor anymore. So what's the problem? She's all talking to, Brady and EJ, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not too sure. What are you not sure about? You're married to her. What are you not sure about?" Now, while Sean and Jada was getting along with her, for a little bit, well, I mean, they were getting to know each other. Belle came in there, and the man was like, "Oh, this is Belle. This is my wife." He felt like you felt the tension through the screen, and it was just like, oh, I just feel so bad. I wonder if they're still going to do anything with Belle and EJ at this point. I mean, it seemed like they kind of put the kibosh on that for a hot minute, but I mean, she's not really too sure. She wants to be with Sean, which I don't even know why at this point. So it's like, are they still trying to do some sort of love triangle between Sean, Belle, and EJ? Like, where are we going with this at this point? I love this show, but there's just times where it's like, what are they doing? Why are they taking so long? Like, I don't know. Maybe this move can be kind of good because maybe it can kind of speed up some of this stuff. Don't get me wrong. There's certain things that need to take a natural progression, but then there's things like this where it's like, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? Um, the minute that because well, champagne. Well, no, that champagne was being done first, but when EJ was sent to asking Belle about the will and everything like that, Ava came in there. They talked for a little bit, and of course, Bella gave Ava the shares or whatever. Then she left, and EJ was like, "Hey, why don't you give it to me? I'll put it in a good safe." And she was like, "No, I'm good. I'll hold on to him." She walked away, and you just see the facial expressions that he was making throughout that whole scene, especially when she renamed her last name as Tamara. You saw his eyes roll and everything. It was classic. It was great. But yeah, I don't really. It makes me wonder who should Ava side with. Now, granted, part of me is being biased, and it's like just side with EJ. I like EJ, but in all reality, she should stay siding with Gabby because EJ doesn't have a heart when it came towards Jake's death. At least, um, Gabby, even though I didn't like the little vulture tactic, she did actually feel bad about Jake's dying and everything like that, and her losing Jake. So at the end of the day, I'm like, yo, I feel like Gabby would have her back more than EJ would. EJ would do it if it benefits him, and the same thing with her, but I just feel like she's safer with Gabby than she would be with EJ. So I don't understand this whole. And of course, Gabby called her just to sit there and remind her, hey, just let you know, I can sit there and blow this up at any point in time. I'm like, okay. I mean, you can, but then you're not going to get anything out of there. And then EJ will sit there and get the shares and will take over the company. So, it's one of those things where it's like when Shin was like, yo, you can call in to remind him, like, yo, you keep pushing, you keep calling somebody's bluff. It's one thing to remind them in the beginning, but to sit there and keep lording over their head, after a while, it starts to lose its power. And I'm looking forward to that happening as well. I'm not gonna lie, in so many ways, I felt like this episode was just pointless. It was pointless. It a lot of stuff didn't really go anywhere, and I mean, the only thing that really mattered was towards the end when Shin came in there to talk to Ralph, probably about Stefan. Other than that, everything else could have just been, and it really wouldn't have mattered. You could have just not seen this episode, and it really wouldn't matter. And I hope that this is not going to be how it is when people are paying to watch this show. I mean, granted, if you really think about it, it's not paying to watch the show. They're paying for a streaming service, and yeah, I just hope they know that when they move to this new platform, that they do step up a lot of things that needs to be stepped up, and it's not just the typical mundane Monday episode where it's like, it looks like this. I don't like episodes like this for a couple of reasons. One, I just don't like episodes like this. Two, whenever I sit there and do a review on an episode like this, and the episode isn't really that good, it makes me feel like I'm not doing that good of a job. Now, I like to sit there and think I am, but it's like, what did I even really talk about? You know? I think the only thing that I feel like as some sort of consolation is that if you were planning on watching this at 8 o'clock, well, you really didn't need to watch 8 o'clock. There's nothing really happened. And if I can save somebody 37 minutes of their time or an hour, whenever it is that you watch it, whenever you watch it on, then I feel like I kind of did a good job in itself. So with that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe, and I will see you in the next video.